Hello Fude friends, in this video I will go over some of my favorite Koyudo brushes, ones that I am afraid might be discontinued in the near future or in best case scenario increase in price. Koyudo recently announced that a number of their series, including the BP series, the FUPA series, and the H series, which includes mushroom and Kinoko brushes, are to be discontinued once the current stock runs out. They also announced a price increase starting September of 2020. I really appreciate when brands provide advance notice of such changes, but I am saddened to see these classic series become discontinued. As of now, many of the brushes I will talk about are either out of stock or unavailable, but there is the possibility that they could restock briefly as they figure out how much stock is left. So I wanted to make this video quickly to highlight some of my favorite brushes from Koyudo in the hopes that it can be helpful to some of you as you make some last minute purchasing decisions. First, I'm going to start by calling out my favorite standout brushes. These are the brushes that I recommend despite the higher price tags and the ones that I am most happy to have in my collection. For me, these are the higher price Kabuki and mushroom style brushes. Here is the Koyudo Gray Squirrel Kinoko with an Etchison lacquer handle. Here I have the same handle but with a white mushroom brush head. And then lastly, I have here the famous white mushroom brush. All of these are some of my favorite, if not my favorite, Kinokos in my entire collection, and I really treasure them. I can't say for certain that these will be discontinued, but as far as I know, they are part of the H series, which is listed as one of the series being discontinued once the current stock runs out. Best case scenario, maybe we can still get them through personal shoppers, but they will increase in price in all likelihood. So the two with the Etchison handles are my favorite Kinokos. They're definitely collector's pieces and not brushes I use regularly, but that's only because I want to keep them in pristine shape. This is the 100% squirrel one. It has a flat top and is very dense. The squirrel is so soft and it's very precious to me. And then similarly with the mushroom bristle one, this is very soft Saikoho goat hair and it's perfectly bundled. As you can see, it has a very large surface area. These brush heads are nearly identical. If we nitpick them, there's some differences, but for all intents and purposes, I would say these are the same or will perform the same, but the one with the red handle is much softer. And while I like this goat mushroom brush, I think it's a classic and I'm so happy to have it in my collection. Oh, I just noticed this one doesn't have a logo. Interesting. So anyways, I'm very happy to have this one in my collection, but it's not the softest goat hair. So if you have very sensitive skin, this one may not be soft enough for sensitive skin types, but it is the softest of the other Kinokos, goat Kinokos I will touch on later in the video. So these are for me the premium top of the line Kinokos from Koyudo, and if any of these are still available, I would highly recommend them. Next up, I have another collector's item in my opinion. This is the FUPA powder brush. I'm hoping this one is safe from being discontinued, fingers crossed. For me, this is an all-time favorite, and I have a portion of a video dedicated to it. So if you're interested in seeing more of this one, please refer to a prior video titled Fude Brush Gift Guide. I put that one up around the holidays of 2019 because this is a brush I recommend gifting to friends, family, yourself. And in that video, I described this brush in detail and why I like it. The short answer is that I enjoy the craftsmanship of the wood handle and the equally luxurious brush head. This brush is another statement piece, a collection piece that I could use daily if I wanted to, and I think it's great for people that do, but for now I choose not to use it frequently and keep it more for collecting and display purposes. Next, I have a similar brush, but this one gets a lot of use. This is the FUPA 14. I would argue another classic. And this brush is made of a combination of goat and squirrel bristles. I find that it feels closer to squirrel than goat because it is very soft. And for me, it is soft enough, I would say, for all skin types. Let's see if you can see it better there. This one, the hair combination, I think makes it suitable for both softer and harder press products. You can use this for all over powder, setting, bronzing, buffing. Overall, I think it's a very good shape to use for multiple purposes. And it actually reminds me of the Sonia G Master Face. In terms of function and how you use these brushes. So the Sonia G face brush is one of my all-time favorite face brushes. I actually awarded it my top pick in the category of face brushes during the Fude Awards, so you can check that out on my Instagram account. But the shapes are similar. They have this round ferrule. They're similar size, density, and bristle length, and uses. I really like using the Sonia G to buff in, as an eraser, as a finishing brush at the end of all of your powder products, and I can use this FUPA 14 in a similar way. But enough with the Sonia G one, because the point here is to highlight the beauty of the Koyudo brush. This little brush is so cute, but incredibly high performing, and I would argue a Fude classic. The handle is on the smaller side. The color is hard to capture on camera. It is a very dark olive green with subtle sparkles throughout. The size of it makes it great for travel, putting it in your purse for touch-ups, or because it is so pretty and well made, I would say it's also a display piece to set on your vanity. So that concludes my ranking of my top standout brushes from Koyudo. These next set of brushes I also adore and treasure, but I had to draw the line somewhere for my all-time favorites. So the next few are the more modestly priced Kinokos. Perhaps I have an irrational obsession with the cuteness of the little Kinokos. I agree that they're not as versatile as other brushes or as soft as other face brushes, nor are they as easy to use as brushes with a handle. But, and I admit that for me, these are mostly display and collection pieces, but I wanted to highlight them because they can absolutely be used daily. They're reasonably priced, and I find them to be incredibly special for their whimsical, fun, and more unique styles, shapes, colors. I don't have a particular favorite in this category because there are many to choose from. I would pick the one that you are most drawn to. The quality and craftsmanship is visible in all of the ones I have seen in person. So these are the brushes I would also recommend for gift giving. You can find a little portion of that gift guiding video also includes these fun Kinokos, so refer to that video if you want to hear more thoughts about these. But here are some of the ones I'll call out now just to give you an idea. This one's one of my top choices. This has the town bear mascot of the town where the brushes are made. It also has this green, dark green with subtle sparkles throughout handle. It's very elegant, it's very substantial, has a nice weight, and obviously the bear is as cute as can be. You can also get flower shaped brushes. These come in different colors and sizes. Here we have the macaroon brush. This one comes in different colors with an orange and I believe a purple. Very dense, beautifully bundled, very fairly priced. And then I have more of the macaroon handle shapes, but with pumpkins on them and little bear bristle tops. I have even more of these with different color handles. So yes, I think it's apparent that I have a fascination with these cute little whimsical brushes. And here is another one in a more standard shape and handle. This one I believe is the H0110, and I'll put it next to the Hakuhodo G543 for a size comparison. The Hakuhodo one is more domed and much more densely packed. So again, this one is for sure part of the H series and sadly will be discontinued. And one last thing I would like to note is that these fun Kabukis are not the softest, and I would not recommend them for someone that has sensitive skin. If you have tried and are okay with medium quality goat hair, these will work just fine. But if you require more softness, you will probably want to skip these or focus on Kabukis that have squirrel bristles. Moving on, I'm going to touch briefly on the FUPA series. I know these are very famous from Koyudo and you can find lots of information out there. My only contribution here is to say that yes, they are as good as you hear, and I can't believe that these are being discontinued. If you can get them, I would say get the ones with the shapes that you see yourself using the most. They are great little durable handy brushes. I only pulled out the FUPA 01 soft version with the white bristles. I had this one handy, but I also enjoy the FUPA 02 and the FUPA 07. I think this is the 02 with a different handle. The only downside to these brushes is that they do have a smaller handle. So for some that could be battery died, picking up where I left off. I was saying that the only downside to these is that they have a smaller handle, which could be inconvenient or less comfortable to use for some. So here it is next to the master face handle. It is a good 40% shorter. I personally don't mind smaller handles, so I don't see that as a con, but they are small in size. And the 01 is very densely packed. They're all densely packed. In general, they're all densely packed. They're all very soft goat brushes and great for cream products, powder foundations, anything that you want to use a very densely packed and fairly short bristled brush for. So let's move on to the BP series. The BP series I would describe as handy, durable, no fuss brushes with superior hair quality. My standouts are as follows. First up, let me put this back. You might be able to see the white bristles better. This is the Koyudo BP 013 foundation brush. Thankfully, I don't think this one is expected to be discontinued. It's one of the few that will stay around from the BP series. This one I use as a bronzer brush or for all over powder and setting. And I have a video where I think it's titled the Refer P22 bronzer brush review, where I put this one side by side next to it and a few others. So if you want more details on this one, check out that video. I'm trying to keep this one under 15 minutes. Let's see how I do. And then my other favorite from the BP series is the BP 014, also called a foundation brush, but this is very small for foundation. It would take a long time to do a full face with this one, but this one I use primarily for cream products such as blush, bronzer, contour, but also love it for concealer and touching up foundation spots. It has a paddle shape, but it is more densely packed than I think a typical Fude paddle brush, and also has more thickness than a paddle brush. So the high density and thickness, I think, create a very easy to use application of concealer and touching up foundation. They both have held up well, and I love the price of these. These are in the more affordable range. I believe this one is around $30 US. This one is around $50. So I think these are a good introduction to Fude when you don't want to spend an arm and a leg. But here's a quick size comparison because it reminds me of the Tom Ford 02 in brush head shape. And also I will note that these are not the softest goat hair, similar to the goat Kabukis. So it'll be soft enough for normal skin types. If you have sensitive skin, you will need to reconsider these. These may not work for you. I do find it interesting that Koyudo is planning to keep these and a few others from the BP series. Perhaps these are among their best sellers, or perhaps this type of hair is feasible to continue to source and that's why they will be around. Either way, I think that's great news because I'm extremely drained from seeing so many beautiful brushes disappearing. And sadly, there will be many that I will not be able to pick up. So lastly, actually I have two more styles of brushes I wanted to talk about. So moving on, let's talk about the BP series with squirrel bristles. So I took these two out because I find that the gray squirrel brushes are very high quality squirrel hair, and they're some of my favorites from the BP series. I'm always impressed by how soft the bristles feel. I think from the BP line, the squirrel brushes are the most luxurious, the most high quality from the ones I have tried, and I don't think you can go wrong with the squirrel BP brushes. So go for the ones that have the shapes that appeal to you the most. Let's start with this one. This is another flat top stamper. This one is a newer addition to me, and I bought it mostly because I was fascinated by these flat top stampers and didn't have many of them, so I picked it up and I do not regret it. It is the softest of my other squirrel brushes in this shape, and it is beautifully bundled. I actually want to put it next to the Hakuhodo F02 foundation brush. There is a size comparison, similar length bristles, surface area, similar softness. The squirrel one does feel softer. But what is neat about this comparison is that the Koyudo feels every bit as elegant and luxurious as the more expensive Hakuhodo FO brush. This one's not really multi-purpose, so I don't recommend it unless you are interested in trying this type of shape. And as of now, I've only used it for experimenting with powder, blush, and bronzer, and I really like it. No complaints, but it's not the most multi-purpose brush out there. And then this next one is basically the BP series. I purchased this one from CD Japan. It was listed as an outlet brush, but I believe it is similar to, if not the same as, the BP 025 highlight brush from the BP series, just with a different handle that has this brush or sakura flower on the handle. I wish instead of discontinuing them, they had instead upgraded the BP series handles or put a nicer design on them like this one. But again, just want to point out that these are beautifully made. They feel very luxurious. Here it is next to the Wayne Goss airbrush. It is slightly bigger, it is more densely packed, and slightly wider than the Wayne Goss brush, and equal softness. Now, the last ones I wanted to talk about are a few BP series Kolinsky brushes. And I'd like to note that the Koyudo BP Kolinsky is not the softest I have felt. It's not going to wow you if you have tried other high quality Kolinsky from brands such as Takeda or Shu Uemura, but they are good everyday brushes, and I believe they are priced fairly. If available, I think they are worth the purchase. This is true especially if you do not need the softest Kolinsky, which realistically no one does. So if you can still find the BP Kolinsky brushes, I do recommend them, and I do think they would be worth getting. Also keep in mind that Kolinsky is becoming harder to find, so there's that factor. I don't have all of the Kolinsky brushes from the BP series because I was trying to be good about not buying duplicate shapes, which at the time was great, but now that they're being discontinued, I may be regretting that decision. But anyways, one of my favorites that I'm very glad I picked up is the BP036, and this is sometimes regarded as a dupe for the Shu 5R pure Kolinsky. I also show these compared to other brushes and go into much more detail in a review of the Sonia G Sky Eye set. So if you're interested in a dissertation of this brush, maybe check out that video. For now, I'd like to just point out that this BP036 is a brush I do reach for often, when I would highly recommend at least trying this shape. And if you find it available, I would say go for it. And then similarly, I have this Koyudo BP038. This one's a small detail brush. It's great for shimmers, metallics. I want to make sure you can see that. So as I was saying, it's great for shimmers, metallics, cream shadows. If you need to touch up small concealer areas, it will work great with cream and powder products, but it is on the smaller size, and I will put it next to a standard eye brush size, which is the Builder 3 by Sonia G. Very happy to have both of these smaller detail brushes. I would say go for it if by any chance you can find them still available. To conclude, I hope this video was helpful in some capacity and that you're able to pick up some Koyudo classics before they are gone forever. I'm very happy to be able to have some of these Koyudo pieces and a part of Koyudo's history. If you have any questions, please comment below and I will try my best to get back to you. As always, thank you for watching, and a friendly reminder to please say no to bluefin tuna.